Alright, episode 2. Quite looking forward to be honest.
Hmm.
I quite enjoyed the first one. It was a lot of fun making it. I
Yeah,
feel like
definitely.
it was very tense at the start though.
That's something that I hope's just gonna go away with time. Definitely recording this one, I'm still a little tensed off, but I hope that's
Yeah.
something that we can overcome.
Yeah, I feel like the background music as well, the lo-fi, just kind of is a lot. It takes away a lot of the tension in the background as well.
Definitely, it's very common.
Something about the genre,
Mm.
just something about it.
I've always loved lo-fi hip hop. When I first started making videos, songs with like obviously most lo-fi hip hop doesn't really have lyrics. If someone is singing, they'll chime in every now and again with a word or something. But I
Yeah.
find it easier to concentrate on editing when it's
You've
like
got this playing in the background.
yeah, with really mellow music. And I hope this is something that's gonna benefit the podcast. Just sort of like uh,
Yeah,
some chill music that fits the vibe or the aesthetic that we're going for.
yeah. Lo-fi
Definitely.
is a very like it's a really good genre of music as it's like you said, it's easy to concentrate and stuff, and like there's no lyrics or anything, so your mind doesn't focus on the lyrics as much, and you've just got it's that just the background aesthetic and all that just atmosphere,
Definitely, yeah.
and really puts you in certain moods, just calms you down a little bit. You're a bit tense, you're a bit angry, calms you down a little bit, and you can actually get on with what you're doing. Always helps me with things when I'm studying, when I'm doing work for school or something.
That's the magic of music, though, isn't it? Like what you were saying in the last episode, how strongly we all know how strongly you feel about music and the way it affects you
Yeah.
and the way it affects other people. And obviously, lo-fi hip hop, or just lo-fi in general, it's a favorite of both of ours, I think, and
Yeah.
it's definitely a very popular genre and will continue to grow as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. With music, I'm all the the feeling you get from music is why I enjoy music so much. Like when you're listening to a certain genre or something, you get like a certain feeling from it, if you get what I mean.
Yeah,
It's not just the sounds, not just the lyrics and all that. It's just what you personally feel from that song, not how it sounds, just how it feels.
that's the joys of most like forms of creative media. So, for example, with literature, I'm not exactly the biggest fan, but I understand that, especially in poetry and stuff like that, you can interpret your own things from it. So, for example, a song might make you feel a certain way, and might make someone else feel a certain way. The way you interpret the music or the way you interpret the media can differ between other people, and because of that, the ability that it has to affect different people in different ways, I think that's what makes it special.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. It's it's amazing because it's not just with music, but it's everything. It's just how the human mind works. It's the way you perceive the world with different things. Like people will see a prime example of that is a psychologic test they do on people. Do you know where they get the blank ink spots? and they
Oh
tell a
yeah, yeah,
person, what do
different.
you see in that image? It's different, and they can like diagnose different things with it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's a prime example of how people interpret the world in their own way.
Mm.
And other people can always have an effect on that, just like the fear of being judged and all that, you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because everyone follows a certain curriculum when going forward with things, and to be honest, I personally feel like it's better to be different than to blend in with the crowd. I can understand why people feel that way, like blending into the crowd, they don't like to stand out as much, but personally for me, I feel like that's what makes things more enjoyable, just doing things the way you want to do them instead of how other people want you to do them.
Yeah, it's like you were saying before about music and like different forms of media or whatever. It's all about interpretation, the way other
Yes.
different people want to go about things in different ways.
Mm. It just depends on what that person wants to do and how they grew up as well, what they saw, and everything, every little thing, every little detail always has an effect of what choice they're going to make next.
Mm. Something that I'm pretty sure we both like doing. I know you definitely do. Uh, you've been learning Japanese for just over a year now. Do you want to talk
Oh
about
yeah,
that
of
for a little
course.
bit?
Oh yeah, yeah, sound. I love the language so much. It's very unique compared to most languages. It's a combination of Chinese and their own development of their writing system, hiragana and katakana. It's a very cool language in the way it just like flows out and stuff, and the way they pronounce words. It's just I love it.
Yeah, that's something that I found with Spanish originally.
Mm.
Because obviously you don't take Japanese in school. You do that in your own time.
Oh yeah,
I'm the exact opposite. I do Spanish in school, and I tend not to do much outside of school. But
yeah,
originally I wanted to pick German. That was my language of choice. That's what I wanted to learn.
yeah.
Never ended up doing that, so I've spent the years doing Spanish, and
Mhm.
uh, I particularly like the Spanish language because I enjoy the accent, and I feel like you were saying with Japanese, it feels nice to speak in that language, if you get what I mean.
I get what you mean.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's when you start learning the language as well, you just start seeing the beauty in where it originated. For example, Japanese is of course from Japan. And when you start learning a language, you start learning more about the culture and stuff like that. And when I started researching a lot of things about Japan and stuff, I was absolutely amazed. Like the things they've they do, the different the culture itself is just I love it. The way they do things, how unique they are compared to the rest of the world. They do things their own way. And like I said earlier, doing things differently is what is I personally think is the best because it makes things more enjoyable. So it's like because Japan just stands out more than anything else, in my opinion. It's like watching them do things in a completely different way is it may it makes me inspired.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I feel basically exactly the same way. Obviously not with Japanese. I respect the culture. I respect. Obviously not trying to classify the whole country in one way, but I've never exactly been too much of a fan of anime. That's something I've never really understood. Uh, and
Mm.
but I agree with you that the language itself is probably one of the best languages we've got in our world.
Yeah.
Definitely. But while we're on the topic of things that we enjoy doing, uh,
Mhm.
obviously we've recently started this podcast. We're on
Yeah.
episode 2 now. Um, I feel like in terms of future plans for the podcast, I don't know. We haven't really discussed this too much, so I don't know whether we want to go in different directions. But I feel like this is the
Hmm.
prime time to speak about this, really.
Yeah, like when we first started thinking, you know what, it just came out of the blue, was like, let's make a podcast. And they were like, yeah, let's do it. So we made the first episode and I really got into it. It was a lot of fun making it. Even though I look back on it and some bits and like, oh, why did I say some bits and all that? I feel like it's going to be the same for this one, but you kind of learn from your mistakes. And I think if we keep on doing this over time, I'm going to start developing different ideas and see where this podcast thing takes off.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like for the podcast to. Well, obviously, I was speaking to you and Oren after the last episode, saying, "Oh, we're gonna have the biggest podcast in the UK." Obviously,
Dream big.
it's entirely possible. We don't know how far things can go. We'll never really know until we're there. But
For inspiration for everyone as well, everyone starts from somewhere. Everyone, like, for example, Jeff Bezos started off in a little shed, and now look where he is. He's a billionaire, richest man in the
exactly.
world. Everything
Uh,
starts from one place. I don't expect it to be big. I really just more care about enjoying having fun with it and stuff like that.
I think that's the way to be going about it. Really, I feel like not focusing on the future, not focusing on trying to make
Mm.
the podcast something it naturally that it won't become. I feel like it's better that we focus on the present, we focus on what we want to do now, and we focus on most importantly having fun.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
of course, of course.
Definitely. And you were saying before, everyone starts from somewhere. I'm personally a big fan of big fan of the Joe Rogan Experience, the world's number one podcast, I'm pretty sure.
Mm.
And recently I saw it was the first episode of that podcast, and just seeing how far he's come. Like from, I'm pretty sure it was something insane, like 11 years ago. Like if you think about it in terms of our age, we were 5 or 6 when this first episode came out. Just
Wow.
mental. Um, and
Yes.
it brings us back to that what you were saying about everyone's got to start from somewhere. So
Hmm.
he's gone from what he was doing back in the day. Obviously he's an MMA commentator. He's not built his life from his podcast, but looking back on how it was in the first year and then looking at
Hmm.
how it is now, uh, it it shows us that it is entirely possible that something uh, that may seem stupid now, like depending on who you ask, this might be a really fucking stupid idea. But uh, honestly, if I think we're having fun, I think that we have fun along the way. Who knows where it could go.
All right, like we were mentioning about fear of being like how the world's quite judgmental. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And when if for example someone we know or something was like, why have you done this or something, it's not their choice to say take it down. It's like it's our choice if we want to do that or not, and you don't need their perspective to say if you're enjoying it or not. If you're enjoying it, then keep it going. If you really like it, you know what I mean. And for me, I'm really enjoying this. I thought the first episode was a lot of fun, so making a second episode, I'm just dead excited to do it.
Definitely. I think that the only way that anyone's ever gonna get anywhere in life, I'm not trying to preach, I'm not trying to be a philosopher or anything. I'm 15 years of age, I basically know nothing in terms of life. But I feel like the way I want to live my life is it's so much easier if I don't listen to anyone and focus on what makes me happy, what I want to do, what I enjoy myself. And I'm pretty sure you've got the same mindset.
Mm.
Um, so let's say for example, yeah, someone we know personally is like, oh, bit stupid this and
A
yeah,
bit stupid,
yeah,
innit?
bit stupid in it. Yeah, you're doing a podcast in your bedrooms. But like you were saying, if it's something we enjoy, it's really up to us what we want to do. And if we want to carry on
Of
doing
course.
this, we'll do it. And
Yeah, yeah,
you never
definitely.
know. We'll see in 11 years. We could be where Joe Rogan is now.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. I'm really not. I'm not planning to be. I'm not planning to run a podcast, but it just depends what happens, really. Like, the future is so unpredictable, and it's very, very unlikely that something big's gonna come out of this. Like, but
Yeah,
still,
of course. But definitely, I think that if we just focus on what we enjoy, instead of focusing on what it can be, and obviously it's good to have goals. It's good to strive to obviously to get them to achieve those goals. But
yeah.
I definitely think that if if we just focus on what we enjoy, what makes us happy, I feel like that's what's gonna help us succeed in the long run. Or maybe not help us succeed, maybe it goes nowhere, but at least we've had fun along the way doing it. And
Oh
that
yeah, of
that's
course.
really the most important part about it. That was the whole point of the podcast to begin with, and is what I hope that we're gonna keep that same mindset throughout.
Mm. It's just it's a different experience, to be honest, and it's always good to try out different things and stuff. And if you've got that goal, then you're always going to keep on going until you reach that goal. Like, you don't do something for the sake of it, you do something because you've got something behind you, you got a purpose. Like, you're doing something because someone asked you to do something, or you get what I mean? Stuff
Yeah,
like that. You're
100%.
doing something because you want to get somewhere, and to do that, you've got to go through this certain path. Now, you could choose your own path to get there, but you're going through that path for a purpose. And that purpose, for example, this podcast is just to have a lot of fun, just to enjoy ourselves and just talk with people, have fun. And that's the whole point of the podcast. That's the whole point of listening to any podcast. You're just enjoying yourself. You're just a little bit of background. You're just listening into someone else's conversation and stuff like that. It's just how it all works. And well, that's in my personal opinion. Just it's lovely, it really is.
Yeah, well, our whole goal to begin with, starting this podcast, was trying to capture the essence of those like late night conversations you have with a friend, where you talk about
Yeah,
absolutely nothing and plans for the future and stupid things like that. And obviously, if we have fun doing it, we have fun doing it, and uh, that's that's it really, innit?
yeah, of course, of course. It's the reason why it's called late night vibes. It's literally just
Late night vibes.
it's in the name.
Yeah.
When you're on like PS4 or you're on your Xbox or something, it's like 12 in the morning and you're on your game with a mate or something. It's like you and just one person and you just kind of sat there just talking about all sorts. It's when you're tired, you don't really care. You just spit out a bunch of random facts. Anything that's just really on your mind, you just say how being tired works.
Well, that was the whole idea for the podcast to begin with. It originally started you and a friend. I don't think it's really appropriate to name them, but you were
Yeah.
sat there and you were speaking and you thought, yeah, I think it'd be really cool to do a podcast. And well, clearly you follow through with that, and here we are,
Here we are for episode 2.
episode 2. Yeah,
Way!
we've come so far.
We have come so far. It's been 2 days and we've made so much progress already.
Yeah, exactly. I hope that one day we can look back on this episode and the episodes to come, the episodes we've already recorded,
Oh
look
yeah,
back
of
on it
course.
and just think back to the days, like for example in our future, we might not be able to have those late night chats where you're speaking about nothing.
Mhm.
So hopefully this is something we can look back on and think, wow, times were better, and
Definitely, yeah.
just yeah, look back, smile, and
Um, yeah, just well, how can I say this? Whatever anything throws at you, you've just got to embrace it. Whatever life throws in you, you just got to embrace it. You got to build from it.
Can we just go back to this music? I really like this music. It just obviously we're going off. Well, we've not really got a topic, but we're going off topic, and yeah, oh, this music.
It is good. Yeah, I
It's
like
such a
this.
vibe.
It is. It is.
It really is.
I love the chilled cow live stream. It's just, I always put it on.
We're not sponsored. Yeah. Yeah, Ethan. Unless we're getting paid, don't be giving anyone any promotions.
That's a
Yeah.
good point. This is just out of kindness. It's just out of kindness.
Yeah. Out of the pure kindness of our hearts.
Yeah.
Interacting with our audience, right? Obviously we've just been speaking about the music in the background. If you have any suggestions for music you'd like to run in the background, obviously something that's gonna fit the aesthetic. This is gonna be a video on YouTube. Just leave a comment down below. Oh, that's wow. That was very cliche. Leave a comment down below. But yeah, definitely. Yeah. Drop a comment. Just any ideas, any sort of criticism on the podcast. 100% will be appreciated.
Yeah, we'll read any suggestions and all that, and we'll see about
100%.
like putting it into the podcast, like making a playlist or something, and then getting it played.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, it's what yous like, as well as what we like as well. We're all in this together. This
Yeah.
isn't just us. This is also yours as well.
The whole point of the podcast is for everyone involved to enjoy themselves, and I think the only way that we're gonna properly capture that is doing what we enjoy, which is obviously the podcast. I think we both enjoy this, and then the audience, we're hoping that they enjoy the podcast themselves. But I feel like interaction between us and the audience, some criticism such as background music, or maybe some topics that they want us to discuss on the podcast, or certain guests that we can possibly get on. Any sort of criticism that's going to better the podcast, it's going to better your enjoyment, and it's going to better our enjoyment recording it. I think that's going to be good.
Expect an interview with Donald Trump in the next 5 episodes. We got that planned. Don't worry, everyone.
Yeah, definitely.
This isn't a project just for us. It's just a project for all yous as well. So leave any comments or anything. We'll just consider them and all that, and we'll see what like topics or anything. Just anything you really want to talk about. You really want to hear mentioned or anything, and we will see if we can include it in any way.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you think about that? Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I feel like any sort of interaction is going to be definitely necessary for us to continue the podcast.
We're not like with this episode. We're not really going off set or anything. We just like with the last episode, we literally wrote down a bunch of topics and all that, and I feel like because of that, it was a lot more tense and all that. But this time, we've approached it a different way. We've just been like, right, let's give a vague idea what we want to discuss, and then we throw it in and just see what happens, because that's what happened like the last half of the podcast. If you've listened to that, we really specific topics and all that, like Hitler.
Oh, definitely. A topic that I'm sure everyone was appreciative of. Something that people definitely wanted us to discuss. A topic that definitely hasn't been done to death over the years. Could have been a mistake, but it's all part of a learning experience. That
Trial and error.
Exactly, trial and error is progress. The only way that we are going to better ourselves in the podcast is by making mistakes and rectifying them and learning from them, and then making a positive change for the better.
As long as their mistakes doesn't get us banned.
As long as the mistakes don't get us banned, yep, definitely.
I'm just
So
kidding.
what? I know we briefly touched on the previous episode, and you briefly touched on your opinions about it. I
Yeah.
feel the way you went about it was definitely wrong. You said having a list of topics and bouncing it between conversations probably wasn't the best idea, but
Definitely not.
given some inside information to the listeners, to the viewers, near the end, we're hoping that you have listened to the previous podcast. If not, I'm pretty yeah, I'll try and put it in the description of the video.
There's like 2 episodes. I don't think that needs to be done.
I'll do it anyway.
Just do it anyway, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, towards the end of that, we started talking about the SCP Foundation and parallel universes.
Oh, that
Something
one.
that we definitely didn't write down. We definitely weren't
We're
weren't
literally not sat
planning
on
on
our
speaking
chairs.
about, and I feel like that was the best part about it. We
Yeah.
got Orin to open his shell and start talking. He was very
Intrigued.
hesitant towards the start of the podcast, and yeah, like you said, he was very intrigued about
Some
SCPs
of the
and things like
topics, yeah.
that. Yeah. So I feel
Yeah,
like,
it's not
well,
like
what
we were
was it?
sat on our chairs and literally just went, you know what, let's just talk about parallel universes, the Mandela effect, all that, how it all links together. Let's just talk about how infinitely big the cosmos is. Like, we didn't plan that. That just went off because it was like 1 in the morning.
And that was probably the best part about the podcast. The whole point of it is meant to be capturing those late night conversations, and I feel like scripting it, or, well, not scripting it exactly, but writing down a specific set of topics that we need to bounce off, ruined like the naturality. I don't really know what word I'm trying to get at there, but
I think everyone understands
the
it's fine.
authenticity of the late night conversations that we're trying to capture.
Hmm.
So I feel like obviously the end of that, towards the end of that was unscripted, wasn't like written down, and that in my opinion, and I'm pretty sure in your opinion as well, was the better half of the podcast.
That was the better half of the podcast. We just
Yeah.
kind of just flowed on with the conversation instead of just being like, considering about. So we were literally just talking about like, so considering like going off Fortnite, what do you think about H.P. Lovecraft?
Yeah.
And that's how it felt, and it felt a bit too quick to topic, if you get what I mean.
100%.
I feel like the ideas we had, we just should have just left them out, I think.
Well, as I'm saying, it's all about the learning experience. It's all about making progress with the podcast and learning
Hmm.
from the mistakes in the last episode. Maybe not so much mistakes, but things that would have kept us back from making a better episode. And learning from that, I hope that we can make this episode better, and we can make the episodes that I hope are coming to fruition in the next days, weeks, perhaps. We hope that we can make them better.
I have one thing to ask you, Ryan.
Go on.
Do you have any inspiration for this podcast? Like, because I understand that you listen to quite a few podcasts. I'm not really too much of a podcast listener. I listen to some here and there, but not too much. But I know you listen to a bit. So, do you have like any ideas on where you think we should go with this? If you get what I mean, like how
I
we should do things.
Yeah, I touched on the Joe Rogan experience before, quite a little bit.
Hmm.
Uh, Surprisingly enough, I'm not too much of a podcaster myself. I listen to one or
Oh,
two.
yeah. I
Uh,
thought you listened to loads.
well, I definitely listen to loads of those specific types, but
Hmm.
I,
Like, um, I remember one time I decided to listen to the Howard Stern. That's it. Yeah, listen to a Howard Stern podcast with Beetlejuice. I remember listening to one of them, and that got wow. It was an experience listening to that. It was all over the place, to be honest, and I could definitely tell that a lot of it was half scripted and half wasn't. It just kind of went off with the flow, and they had like different calls and stuff like that. And it was really funny to listen to Beetlejuice getting into beef with the staff and all that. It was just funny to listen to, and I really enjoyed stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like um,
Go on.
podcasts go off on different like genres, if you get what I mean. Like there's different. Like at first, when I first listened to podcasts, I didn't really think too much about this, but some of them are like because they've got your hosts and all that, and then hosts have specific characteristics and stuff what they like to talk about and who they like to bring on the show and stuff like that. It's like it sort of feels like a certain genre, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm on the same wavelength. But what I was saying before, not too much of a podcast listener. But definitely I've listened to podcasts. Definitely have taken inspiration that I've put towards our podcast.
Hmm.
Um, one in particular, like the podcast that I listen to most, Jack Meets Happy Hour. People in the Discord have definitely heard me talking about it. A podcast. It's the only podcast that I've found that I'll listen to every episode of, and what I think they managed to capture in that podcast is what we're trying to go for, authenticity. It's a lot more of a conversation between three friends than it is a structured podcast, and that authenticity, what they've managed to capture is what I hope that we managed to capture, and
Hmm.
us and the guests that we get on hope to capture and put towards making a good podcast. It doesn't
Yeah.
follow the exact theme. Obviously, we've gone for a more chilled, laid back, obviously late night vibe, conversations at night podcast.
Hmm.
Whereas that's more, well, it started off as very critical, and as recently they focus more on getting guests on, speaking about what the guests have done, and then that's the end of the podcast. But what I
Yeah.
hope to, obviously we've only had one guest on so far, Oren in the last episode, and in our next episode or maybe one of the episodes to come, we hope to get Arthur and Michael on. I think you'd make a decent episode. What do you think?
Yeah. I reckon we could make a decent episode with Michael. Michael's got a good few topics up his sleeve. He can definitely come up with some good conversations and stuff, and that's the whole, like we said, it's the whole point of this podcast system. And yeah, we just get we just go off different ideas and all that, and just try and change things up a little bit in each episode instead of trying to keep it the same way each time. Because I don't want to end up going to like the 10th episode or something. We're still talking about the same topics. I want to
Yeah.
make sure we keep everything creative. Like we start talking about different things and all that, and just have more of a laugh and all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Michael being the eldest out of us,
He's the wisest.
he's definitely the wisest, and I think he has a very rich personality. He's a nice person to speak to, a nice person to be around, and I think, like you were saying, he'd be fit for a very good
Mm.
episode. Uh, and I hope that we can introduce guests such as Michael, and obviously what we were talking to Sam before, another friend of ours. I feel like he'd make for a good episode.
He would.
They
He
both
would.
got very drastically different personalities, but
And that's what makes it fun. It's what makes it fun. We don't
it's
come on and say
variety.
it's
What you were
variety.
talking,
Yeah.
you don't want to go over the same topics every single time, and I feel like getting these guests with such different personalities, um, I feel like that's gonna achieve what you're trying to achieve, with
Mhm.
like I was saying, the variety.
Yeah, yeah. It's just making sure we don't keep everything the same. Like I said, we don't get into 10th episode and then we're still talking about the same topics and all that. That's not what I really want to depict in a podcast. I want it all to be different. I want it to be enjoyable for us and you at the same time. And when I say you, I mean the audience. So we want to make this good for all you. So we want to add different variety. We want to have fun ourselves while you enjoy listening as well, like playing your games or something, doing your study, and just having this as a background.
Yeah, that's what I've found. Especially, I was talking about Jack Mate's Happy Hour podcast. That's something that I like to do. I like to just throw it on and then I'll play a game, and it's like I'm part of a conversation with my friends. As sad as it may sound, it's like listening to a friend's conversation, and that's what, like you were saying, I hope that's something that we can achieve with our podcast. It's something you can throw
Of
on in the
course.
background, playing a game, doing some revision maybe for school. Um, and overall, I really just hope that it's something that people can enjoy. Obviously, we're enjoying making it, so I hope that translates to enjoying listening to it.
At the minute, we've literally got like how many subscribers? Like 2, and that's like
We've
us.
actually gone up. I'll check
Have we?
now, but I'm pretty sure it's quite pretty high, especially for the first day. I'll just get it up now.
Yeah, sure. I want to see this now. 'Cause I
Uh,
really enjoyed
yeah,
it.
four subscribers.
Oh,
And we've had 11 views on the first episode at the time of recording, um, which I'm really happy about.
yes,
You can definitely hear it in my voice. Well, I'm really happy with how the we did say we were fairly disappointed with the way the first episode came out,
yeah.
especially with
So
the first part of it, not achieving what we were trying to achieve, but definitely. Compared to other podcasts, definitely bigger podcasts. It may sound really low in terms of views and subscribers, but considering it's something that we started like what, just over a day ago, and it's already 11 views and 4 subscribers, that's something that I'm definitely very proud of after the first episode, and
mhm.
I hope that you are too. I feel like we're making good progress.
Now, if you want to leave a comment or something after this podcast is over or something, um, yeah, leave whatever your thoughts and opinions and everything. You can be as harsh as you want. You can be. We want it to be an enjoyable experience for our viewers as well. So saying what you feel about everything, how we're taking things, give us different ideas and all that, and we can try and consider them and stuff, and just see what yous all like, and give some reviews on everything you feel is going so far. Even when the next couple of episodes come out, just keep on doing the same thing and just help support our channel.
100%. Obviously, we touched on it in the last episode ever so slightly. I make YouTube videos myself, and
Hmm.
right now well, the last episode that we did wasn't edited in terms of video wise, but we will be editing this video, and without sounding arrogant or acting as if like, oh, I do everything around here, I'll be editing the video. Um, Something that I wouldn't say I've got too much experience with, but something that I've played around with, especially in lockdown. We touched on lockdown in the first episode.
We did not
Uh,
too much, just in the intro.
yeah.
It
But if
really does.
I feel like we've managed to naturally figure out our roles in this podcast. I feel like you're taking more of a main host role in terms of the podcast itself, and I hope that
Yeah.
my position's more to bounce ideas off you, and we sort of work with that dynamic. But I mean, I hope that we're very
Hmm.
flexible in terms of what we can do, and the
Yeah.
roles that we can take on, and I hope that we can work
Improve us.
around. Yeah, definitely improve. Yeah,
Hmm. Just remember, everyone, this is only episode 2, so when we go further down the line, this is probably going to be a lot more improved. We're going to be a lot more ready and set up and stuff for different podcasts. We're going to know what to do and what not to do at some point from experience. And even with reviews, you can, like I said before, boost that experience up a bit more by leaving all your reviews and stuff, your comments and all that. Give it a like or something if you enjoy it, just to help support the channel and all that. And just give your reviews, give submissions on what to do next and all that, like songs, anything, topics, anything you really want to, how we approach this, and say what's the pros and cons. I've probably said this like the third time already, but still though, it's an important thing for us, and we just hope that you really enjoy this as much as we are now.
Yeah, I'm not really too sure what to say. Yeah, exactly. I feel like we've got the same ideas, or definitely similar ideas when it comes to the podcast. We both hope that viewer interaction is something that we do get very often. I'm really hoping that we can get comments that will give us criticism and help us better the podcast. I know that definitely a few people in particular that are going to listen to this that aren't going to leave very helpful comments. But
It's fine, it's all about the
exactly, it's about the learning experience, like you were saying before.
I can take a few punches, it's fine.
I can definitely not take a few punches, but I'll try my hardest.
I don't mean that quite literally, by the way. I mean by in comment wise.
Right, definitely.
I just hope that this goes somewhere. I really am enjoying this, even though it's the second episode.
Yeah, that's the whole point of it, really, isn't it? It's all about enjoyment. We're enjoying
It
ourselves
is.
producing the content and hoping that us enjoying making it translates exactly to people enjoying listening.
Talking about all this as well, like the future of this podcast and all that, like talking about future, I think you're gonna be in 5 years' time.
That's a hard one. That is a very hard one.
I know it's quite sudden to say, but we're on the topic a little bit, so I might as well
Well,
bring it up.
it without trying to ignore your question, that's sort of the whole point, really, isn't it? This is one of those topics that would come up in a conversation you'd be having late at night in a PS4 or Xbox party. That's how it goes. So, 5 years from now, 2025, going into 2026, I'd be about 20 and a half years old. I'd have. Oh, this is horrible to think about, but I'd have finished college 2.5 years ago. Oh,
Jesus
that's
Christ.
a tough one. Right, so 2.5 years out of college. I hope. All right, I don't want to go for what I hope. I want to go
Do you want me
for.
to go first?
Yeah. Set
Bring us some
the
ideas in.
boundaries. Give me an idea of what to say.
I picture myself in a different country right now, exploring the different aspects that country has to offer, going place to place by plane or by car or anything, just exploring the world. I just want to see what it has to offer with my bare eyes, because I don't like seeing all these videos and stuff of people's thoughts and opinions, because you're literally looking through their mindset and what they think about the place. You don't see all the other things that they behind the scenes of that. I want to go to different places. I want to see the world. I just want to explore different cultures and just give myself a better understanding. Life is to people, how people depict life, how religion affects people, how everything does everything, how the world turns. I just want to know all that. That's my biggest question I've ever thought about. It's like, what is going to be my meaning? I know it's quite sad to say, but like, why do I do the things I do now? Like, I gotta find an answer for that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that is. It's something that, without trying to copy your answer, obviously I was struggling to think of one before. But something that I have thought about a lot more recently than anything else is you touched on traveling, you touched on exploring the world,
Mm-hmm.
and I've not exactly lived a sheltered life. It's gonna sound like really braggy, but I have visited a few countries through my childhood. Uh,
That's the
Definitely.
thing.
Go on,
I've
what were you trying
never
to say?
traveled before. I've only been to Wales, not even been to Scotland. I've been nowhere, and it just builds up all that excitement of what the world actually has to offer, and like what there is just hiding in the corner of my eye, just waiting to be saw.
That's something that I've definitely thought about. Obviously, like I was saying, I traveled to a few countries, and I feel like putting myself in your shoes, I definitely feel like it'd be stronger. The feeling of wanting to explore would be a lot stronger.
Hmm.
Um, but going back to the original question, where do I actually picture myself in a few years, rather than what I want myself to be in a few years?
Hmm.
Um, I Unfortunately, I don't picture myself in the perfect world that I want, but I,
Of
I,
course, there's
I
always going to be something that slows you down.
yeah, but I hope that, or I feel that being in that position, being somewhere where I'm never truly 100% happy with what I've done, is something that's gonna help me strive forward and constantly be trying to achieve that. And I feel like it reminds me of, I can't remember the exact actor or quote, but it was something about a certain actor saying that they're so glad that they achieved an Oscar at something really young, like the age of 25, 26,
Wow.
because having to work to that your whole life, and then being at the end of, like, towards the final years of your life, and finally achieving something, and then realizing that all that work wasn't worth it, would be something that would really, really hit hard and be really hard to come to terms with.
It is.
Um, so I feel that constantly having to strive towards something, constantly having to work towards
It's a
your
double-edged
goals,
sword.
it's a double-edged sword. On one hand, you're always gonna want to be there. You're always gonna want to be in that paradise of having everything you want. But when you think about it in another way, having everything from the get-go is worse than having to
Hmm.
strive towards something and then finally achieve it in it after years of hard work. I don't
Oh.
I don't want
Mhm.
to use a really childish metaphor, but it's like creative mode and survival mode in Minecraft. Um,
Explain a bit more. Explain a bit more.
yeah, I'm gonna need to elaborate here, but like it's I've got to put it in layman's terms because it's a really hard concept to grasp. But let's say, for example, in Minecraft, uh, you're in creative mode. Boom, you've just spawned in a stack of diamond blocks and now all the
Oh
excitement's
yeah,
gone.
I get it
You've
now.
got nothing. But then
Yeah,
in survival mode, you've put all this effort in. You've finally got a stack of diamond blocks, and it feels so rewarding that all the effort you put in has finally resulted in something. It's finally
yeah.
resulted in that thing you've been working for so long.
The one thing as well that you forgot to mention there, which is also probably one of the most important parts that I think people skip over, is the journey to get there. Like, I don't depict myself being in a certain position. I depict myself going through a certain journey to get to a position I don't know where I'll be. When I say where I'll be in 5 years' time, I want to depict the journey I will take to that 5 years, but not exactly where I would be.
Yeah, I definitely feel pretty much exactly the same way. I didn't express it in my sentence. Obviously, that's what you just called out or brought up. But to answer your question exactly, 5 years probably working in a shop, uh, making ends meet, and at least trying to go out and explore, or trying to put myself in a position where I can get out and explore. But back to the journey that you were talking about, and back to that topic, I feel like that's probably better than straight out of college, I've ran into loads of money and I can go out and explore the world from whatever I want and do whatever I want to do. I feel
Mhm.
like I don't think 5 years is too big of a time frame to capture this properly. Um,
Oh
but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely. 5 years, I depict myself being on the way to success.
Mhm. Yeah, just it's like the
It's a
like
lot to
that
think
one
about. It's a
quote.
lot to think about.
It is like that one quote though. It's not about the end. It's all about the journey and all that, the road that takes you there. And you're always gonna get different part. You're never gonna fully know where you're gonna be. So you just gotta picture the journey you want to take, and even then, you're always gonna be faced with different problems, which is gonna make you turn different directions, which will inevitably put you into a different position at the end.
Without trying to go back onto the topic of parallel universes, uh, it really is the butterfly effect, though, isn't it? The slightest change that you make in your life is gonna put you towards a different outcome.
It
And
is.
I,
It is.
I know it's my fault for bringing it up, but can we try and not be on the topic of parallel universes for too long?
Yeah, yeah, of
Yep,
course, of
yep,
course.
yep.
Let's just leave it at this point
Yeah,
now.
let,
That
let, let's leave it
basically
at that. No, no more universe talk. We've had
no
we've
more
had
talking about
enough.
the infinite cosmos.
Exactly. That's a nil, nada, finished.
Anyway, do you have any more topics you want to discuss about?
Not particularly. I feel like I really can't wait to get another guest on. I feel like having Oren there yesterday,
It was fun.
in the last episode, it was definitely. I don't want to try and act like this episode wasn't fun, but I feel like the more the merrier. The more people we get on, I feel maybe one or two more guests at a time. I think more than that would make it make the
Yeah,
podcast too crowded. So I feel like I'm probably gonna stick to one. But I feel like having a guest in here is
a lot of fun.
it's definitely a lot of fun, yeah. And I,
Hmm.
we talked about briefly before, Michael and Sam. I can't wait to get Michael on. I thought that's gonna make such a good episode, and
It will.
it's
We're
really
gonna
gonna
have so much topics to talk about.
definitely.
Get ready for a Destiny talk.
Oh yeah,
uh,
the hour podcast about an hour and a half of it's gonna be Destiny.
it will. It will. Even though you don't really play that much, do you?
I played a little bit, but I definitely don't know as much as you or Michael. So I think this is gonna be more your well, at least yours and Michael's point
Hmm.
of discussion more than anything. I feel like I'm gonna have to sit out on a lot of that. But
Oh no, we can always fit in other discussions. It just
w-
depends what happens.
but I feel like without trying to spend too much time on a topic that we haven't done yet, I've like used to talking about Destiny. I think me hardly knowing anything is gonna give it a decent dynamic. By like, for example, used to talking about something, and I offer that perspective of someone that doesn't play Destiny. I offer that perspective, and I feel like yous having to explain it to someone who doesn't really understand is gonna make the dynamic a lot better for, say, a listener that doesn't really understand.
Yeah, yeah, we can do a lot. It just depends what happens that day. Well, anyway, talking about like games and stuff. What are the main games you are into at the minute? You got any specific games you like?
At the minute, I think that we can only really narrow it down to one. CS:GO. We took, yeah, we
Yeah.
touched on it a little bit in last episode. Wow, I can't believe it's took me this long to finally start getting into CS:GO. It's the first game that I've found that, without sounding like really arrogant, I know I've done that a few times in this episode, but uh, a game that I find really fun and that I'm naturally good at. I kind of regret saying that because now I look like a prick. It's like,
No, it's good.
look at this dickhead. He thinks he's all so good at CS. I bet I could
Hey,
1v1
like we
open.
said, personal opinions and all that. We don't want to boost each other's ego, though.
Exactly. We don't want to boost each other's egos. We don't want to listen to stupid criticism that means nothing.
Hmm.
We want to listen to
Uh,
strong criticism that's going to benefit us for the better. What were you saying?
like, I've never naturally been good at games. I reckon well, I think it's mainly to do to the fact that I literally play on PS4, and aiming on PS4 is just something else. Like, when you, like, for example, the differences between a PC is that you can access all the buttons a lot easier, whereas when you're on
Yeah.
a PC, no, when you're on a PS4, sorry, for example, um, move, you can't move your head around at the same time as jumping,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah. I feel like consoles, like however much you want to argue about it, I feel like I don't think you personally would, but I feel like someone in maybe the comment section would have an opinion on this.
Mhm.
I feel like consoles really just aren't that much of a competitive landscape
It's not, it's
compared
not.
to PC.
That's why
Um,
I'm planning to move on to PC anyway.
I think we'll more save that for the Michael episode.
Hmm.
Obviously, without spoiling too much, you're planning to build your PC.
We've already talked a bit about that last
We did,
episode, actually.
yeah, fair enough. But
Yeah.
yeah, right. We are nearing the hour mark now, so without trying to drag it out to the hour, I feel like it's probably best we cut it off here, just so we're not forcing topics.
That's a good idea,
Good
yeah.
idea, right?
Well,
Uh,
can I just one more thing before we end the
it's
podcast?
your podcast. Say what you want.
Well, we just hope you get some of your thoughts and opinions, like I've mentioned. I don't want to say it. This is like the fourth time I'm saying it, but just leave an opinion or something for us. Just give us an idea. Be as harsh as you want. Be as good as you want. Just be fully honest with yourself and just say, all right, what could make this more enjoyable for you? We want it to be good for you at the same time as being good for us as well. So it's not going to be
Definitely.
good for us at the same time as it's not being good for you. We're all in this together at the end of the day.
If you aren't enjoying the podcast for a certain reason, tell us and give us an example of how we can improve, and that's going to benefit us and you at the same time. And it's the only way that we're going to be able to improve. So yeah, like you were saying, any sort of viewer interaction, a comment. I'm probably going to put our social media in the about section or the description of videos. So uh, feel free to contact us there.
Hmm.
Literally any sort of interaction would be appreciated, negative, positive, whatever.
Oh yeah, of course, of course.
Like you were saying before, we can take punches, we can handle criticism. So really, just as long as you're not being uh, unnecessarily horrible to us, yeah, I'm pretty sure we can cope.
We can, we can.
Yeah.
So should we cut it there then?
Yeah. So on that note, I assume I speak for you as well. We hope you enjoyed this episode. 50,
Of course.
59 minutes of pure, beautiful conversations. Um,
The aspects of a late night conversation.
the aspects of a late night conversation, well said. Uh, so this has been Ryan, and
Ethan.
you've been Ethan.
I've been Ethan all this time.
You've been Ethan all this time. The grand reveal, the grand reveal.
It
Right.
is, it is.
We hope you enjoy. For like the seventh time now, leave us a comment, leave us a message anywhere. Any interaction would be appreciated. And we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.